Hey everyone, it's Julianne Meyer, your host of Own Your Wellness, and happy Monday. I am so excited to be here as usual. And today I have such a fun guest, and I adore this woman. I can't even tell you how much fun she is to just listen to and how much knowledge she has. Oh my goodness. So I'm just going to bring her on because she's so awesome. Her name is Linda Sunshine West, and you will not be disappointed. Hey, Linda.
No pressure. No pressure.
None whatsoever, right? So you and I had the honor and the privilege. I got to meet you for my summit, my last summit that I did with Mikey Adam Cohen. And I was absolutely blown away by you. And I follow you on social media and I read all your emails, everything. So
cool.
I know. So it doesn't go to waste. You're at least reaching me. I know you reach way more than that, but you know for sure this girl's reading. So not everybody though is familiar with who you are, and I always love to have my guests just sort of describe a little bit about themselves and their own journey. So if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. And, it's interesting about you mentioned the emails and the social media. And, for many, many years, I wouldn't even put myself out there in public for fear of judgment. So for you to say something like, I read all your emails, I read them, that really means a lot to me, for me, because I need that boost every once in a while to remind myself that keep going, keep doing this, that it actually is making a difference. So thank you for sharing that. And, with that said, it's kind of funny because we hear, about social media and we hear how make your posts really short, make your posts really short, make them bulleted and all this stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a verbose person. I love to talk. I love to share stories. And therefore, I'm going to be me, and decided that I'm, whether I have followers or not is not the point for me. What it's about is that I'm being myself and representing myself as myself. So my emails are long, my posts are long, and everything's long. And those who like that will follow me, and those who don't won't. And that's okay either way. So going to that is kind of interesting. Is, I spent the first 51 years of my life, scared to share my voice with the world. And I actually remember the exact moment that I said, oh my God, I have value. From this moment forward, I'm going to share my voice every opportunity I get. And I was 51 years old when that happened. And you can't shut me up now.
No, I love that. But honestly, I got to tell you something too, because I'm one of those people that I don't like to read the long emails. I don't like to read the long posts, but I love what you have to say because it is coming from you and it's so genuine. It's not just the stories you tell, and it's personal and it's entertaining and it's fun.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I get that. But so like you said, I think it's really important that we are able to be ourselves more than anything else. And that's what shines through. You want to attract the right people, not every person, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. Because, when I first, it was 6 years ago that I left the corporate world and became an entrepreneur. And, they would ask you that dreaded question, who's your target market? And I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what that means. And so I had to learn, along the journey, what that actually meant. And so I picked a target market, and my target market was, as a lot of people, it was my old me,
Yeah.
But then I started realizing that I didn't want my old me, because the old me, I didn't like the old me. Why would I want to spend my time with the old me? So I started realizing that it's really more important as who your ideal client is, or who your preferred client is. Who do you want to spend your time with? And once I started more honing in on that, I found that I started attracting more of the people I actually really wanted to spend my time with. I didn't want to spend my time with excuse makers, which is what I used to be. And that's who my target market was. Like, what ridiculousness is that? You're targeting people you don't really want to spend any time with. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. And I actually understand the theory behind that. But personally, I don't want to spend time with the old me either. There's a reason why I left that person behind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also understand, when you change industries, for example, they always say tap into your old industry, that sort of thing. And it's kind of like, well, I left for a reason. I understand I still need to make money and everything else, but I left for a reason. So, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I've paid coaches to tell me that. And I've just been quietly in my head screaming, no.
Yeah. I had one coach, a business coach that the end of the relationship came because this one question I asked, and it was, does it always have to be about the money? Because he was mad at me that I wasn't focusing on the money. I was focusing on, do your passion and the money will come. And he was like, no, do it's all about the money. And I was like, does it always have to be about the money? He said, yes. And he was mad at me, like, it always has to be about the money. And I was like, that's where we differ. And I'm ending our relationship right now because I cannot work with somebody that I'm totally 100% don't agree with. You know what I mean? So yeah, just end there.
Yeah. That's so fascinating because literally on Sunday, my spiritual mentors were talking about wealth, and they were talking about how you can have $1 zillion and still be poor because it's more of a mindset, and how, and I just thought about that and I was like, it's really not about the dollars. I mean, yeah, I want money. Don't get it twisted. But is it worth my life? Like, what am I willing to, exchange my life for? Do I want to spend it on, with people that I enjoy and helping people? Or is it really about, making 6 figures or 7 figures? I mean, like you said, the money does come, especially because you are following your passion and you're being more you, which I think is fabulous.
And I think that's, for me, that's very important for me to be myself. And the reason, because, we have our, like, what is your why, right? We have whys in various areas in our lives. And so why is it so important for me to be myself? Why is it so important for me to be honest with myself? Because I came from a life where I felt judged all the time. And because of my judgment, the feeling of judgment, I became a people pleaser. And by becoming a people pleaser, you don't really allow yourself to control your own life. You allow other people's actions and reactions to control you. So because I lived so many years being that person, when I made the shift, which is about 6 years ago, when I hired a life coach, when I made that shift and like, wow, again, I have value. I have value. And from that moment, I realized that I needed to be me. And it didn't matter what anybody did with me, because, and it's not like, and I like to say, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's just, I don't let it adversely affect me. So it does matter to me that people, maybe some people, she talks too much or she this or that, whatever, but it does matter, but I'm not going to let it adversely affect my life. So that's the difference. But so for me, because I spent so many years of my life, living that way, it's very important to me to be myself without that fear of judgment. That's why.
Yeah. And speaking of fear, you know what I want to talk about?
Yeah, I already know.
This is one of the most, I'm telling you, I could grab some popcorn and just like listen to some of the stories. Oh my goodness, because my year, I was inspired by you. So this year, every month, I'm choosing something to be uncomfortable with. So yeah. And it hasn't been easy and it hasn't been perfect, but you know what? It's making a difference. But I would love for you to share about your year of fear.
2015, I decided to face a fear every single day that year. And the reason I decided that, my why, was because previously in 2014, I worked with a life coach, and she really helped me to unravel so many different things about myself. She's the one that really put me on that path of self-discovery, of realizing that I do have value and all these different things that I realized along the way. So I worked with her until November of 2014. So December, I was all by myself. I didn't have that guide, that person who can, keep me going forward and growing. And I got really addicted to the growth. On a weekly basis, people were saying, oh my God, you're so different this week than you were last week. So the changes were fast and furious. And I got addicted to the positive change. So January 1st of 2015, I woke up and I was like, you know what? I changed so much just this last, half of the year. I want to keep going. I got so many fears. I'm just going to face a fear every single day this year. So I made a commitment to myself, not a New Year's resolution, because, I break those all the time, but I made a commitment. And every morning I woke up and I asked myself, what scares me? And whatever was the answer, the first answer that came to my mind, that was the fear I had to face that day. Sometimes an answer came like that. Sometimes I had to wait 10, 15 minutes for an answer. But I went on this journey like, okay, I got to face every single fear that comes to my mind. I was scared to say I was going to face a fear every single day, let alone facing the fears, because I didn't know what was going to come up. But
Yeah.
nothing cost me anything. It was interesting. My fears were so extremely deep rooted in the fear of judgment. It is the number one fear that we have on the planet. And there's a saying that people are more scared to speak on stage than they are of dying. The reality is they're more scared of the judgment they may receive while they're on stage, not speaking on stage, because people are scared to speak in a whole bunch of areas, not just on stage. They're scared to share their voice because they might be judged. So I went on this path, and I'm facing a fear every single day that year. And boy, did I just, some of the things I did that for me were terrifying. They might not scare everybody, but for me, they were terrifying. So a couple of things I learned that year. One of the things is that we can't judge other people's fears, because fear is real to that person. And I've heard people say things like, oh, you shouldn't be scared of that. Oh, that's nothing. It's no big deal. But you know what? It's a fear, and it's real to that person. So I learned not to judge other people's fear. It's real for them. And there's a saying, fear, what do they say? Face everything and run. I say, face everything and run into it.
I like that.
Just run right on into it, because most of the time after you've faced a fear, you feel pretty good about it. Maybe not instantly, because you might still be like shaking or whatever. But if you look back at it, you're like, wow, I did that thing that scared me. I'm so proud of myself. I pat myself on the back all the time. Someone's got to do it.
Well, why not? I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's funny though that you said that about the judging other people's fears, because and that being also somebody else's fear. I mean, what I'm saying is like we're afraid of being judged, and then you're talking about not judging. It's funny. That's what we all do it all the time. All the time. It's insane.
Yeah, I think it's part of human nature. And here's the thing that I love about, one of the things I love about being human is we have choices. So when I hear somebody say something, I have a choice. I can judge it or not. Now, when I was less evolved, in my mind, I would judge much more. I judged a lot, is what kind of like the environment I grew up in, judgment. And so I became the product of my environment, and I had choices to change that, but I didn't know any different. That was all I knew. So when I, met this life coach, and she took me down she's like, hey, let's go down this other path here. And I was like, wow, people are actually really nice. I didn't know that people really wanted to see me succeed. I didn't know people like that. My husband, he's different. He's amazing. I absolutely love him. And he's always complimenting me. But, I used to say, oh, you're just saying that because you love me. I would never accept the compliment. And a lot of us do that. But when other people outside of him started, paying compliments to me, and I started seeing that, okay, I guess I do have value. That's when I started, realizing that I need to look at other people for their value that they have to offer and stop judging them, because you can't judge a book by its cover. You got to get to know the inside of the book.
No, that's very well said. It's definitely something that we don't even realize that we're judging. We make judgments all the time, like this, don't like that, good, bad, or it's like second nature. And it's funny that you would say that about your husband too, because yeah, like my boyfriend, he'll give me compliments all the time. I'm like, yeah. And I mean, it's not, I know he believes it, but I'm kind of like, oh, whatever. He loves me. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we turn that around, so I, because of working with my life coach, I was able to turn even that part around. So now when my husband says something, I thank him. And he'll say something, this or whatever. I go, I know. And I just like, why not accept it? We were taught at a young age, that's being conceited, or, that's being of ourselves or whatever. But, when we believe in ourselves, we can do so much more. And it's really a matter of us, tapping into that and just saying, wow, when when two or three people say the same thing about you, like Linda Sunshine. Sunshine is not my given name. It's a name that was given to me. So I had like 5 or 6 different people were calling me Sunshine. And this only happened within the last 2 years. So I spent 55 years of my life not being called Sunshine. Then the last 2 years I'm being called Sunshine. I'm like, okay, there's something there. I'm going to go ahead and just change my Facebook name. So then I just changed my name everywhere to Linda Sunshine. And because I accepted it.
It's funny. Yeah, no, it's funny you would say that because I literally thought that was really your name because it suits you so much.
Because it was given to me, right? People are like, they would just call me Sunshine. I'm like, the first time I heard it, I was like, what's that all about? I thought it was weird. And then I got more used to it. And then now it's like, I don't want people to introduce me as Linda anymore. They go together, Linda Sunshine.
Yeah, it does. It totally does. I love that. So what would you say are some of your favorite fears that you faced, like the best responses?
One of my favorites is 2015 was a really big year for me because first of all, in January of 2015, my life coach said, hey, there's this vision board seminar going on. Let's go to it together. I didn't know what a vision board was, and I was like, okay, whatever. It costs $10. And I almost didn't want to pay the $10 because I'm going to something, I'm paying $10 to go to somewhere I don't know anything about it, but I listened to my life coach because she really did help me change my life. And so we showed up at this seminar and they had 5 speakers and then they had, people doing vision boards, preparing vision boards. We didn't even do any of the vision boards. We just listened to the speakers the whole time. Mm-hmm. So one of the speakers was this gentleman named Greg Reed, who Greg Reed. Yeah. So Greg Reed and at the very, very end of his talk, he invited us to his event called Secret Knock. And it was at that time, it was $1,500. And that was in 2015. It was January. I was just at the beginning of my year of fears. I had already faced my fear that day, so I did not need to go to Secret Knock, But so my life coach, she says, hey, I'm going to go to that event, Secret Knock. You should go too. And I'm like, are you kidding? I'm not going to pay $1,500 to go to an event. That's ridiculous. And I'm just going on and on about it. And she's like, if I can get it for you 50% off, will you go? I go, no, I'm not going to pay $750 to go to an event. So she came back to me and she said, guess what? I got you a ticket for $750 or 50% off. And I was like, I'm not going to go. And she looked at me and she goes, you don't understand. You have to be there. And I was like, okay, here, charge it. Yeah. So I did. And that right there, that one action of saying yes to something she knew I needed to be there way more than I knew it. She had never been there before either. But showing up at that one event was the biggest thing that ever happened for me because it really it made the trajectory of my life from that point just like skyrocket fast. And what happened was the second day of the event, a gentleman by the name of Frank Shankwitz, God rest his soul, he just passed away last week. He's the creator, co-founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He was a speaker that day. And at the end of his talk, I was sitting in the front row. At the very end of his talk, he said, everyone can be a hero. If I can do it, everyone can be a hero. And he was referring to the creating of the Make-A-Wish Foundation that's granted over 500,000 wishes to children worldwide. And I heard those words loud and clear. Mm-hmm. Everyone can be a hero. And so I sat there and I remember asking myself, can I be a hero? You know what? He just said I can be, so I know I can be. And that Frank put that into my head. That I can be a hero. It just doesn't, like, we don't know which way our hero or whatever that word is, heroism, whatever. We don't know which way it is because, maybe you are a hero to somebody. It doesn't mean you have to have saved somebody's life, or you can save people's lives in different ways. And so that was really the big start of it. So after Frank spoke, I was like, oh, I'm going to go get a picture with him. Now I was scared. Again, I was just starting my year of fears. So I was scared, but I went back there and I got a picture with him. And I'm surprised the picture came out clear because I was shaking so much that I'm talking to, the creator of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I got my picture, and then I literally like ran back to my seat. He was in the back of the room and I was in the front of the room. I ran back to my seat and I was just trembling because I did it. I did something that scared me.
Mhm.
So the next day, as I'm driving up there, which was the last day, I'm driving up there and I had this thought, like, I'm going to ask Frank to speak at my event. And I just know he's going to do it. So what I did is the whole drive up there, I just repeated my speech, over and over and over again. That's all I did. Repeated my speech. So that way, when I said it, I wouldn't fumble my words. So I saw him, and there he was talking. He was in the back of the room, and he's like 6'6", and he was talking to other men that are about 6'6", and I'm 5'3". So I saw him though, and they were in what I like to call the circle of death, because they were literally shoulder to shoulder in this circle, and there was no getting in that circle. I don't care who you were not getting in. So I did something that when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, how rude and obnoxious was this? But I knew what I wanted. I wanted Frank to speak at my event. So I walked back there, and I just stood right next to him, and I stared up at him for probably a good 30 seconds to a minute. And then he finally saw me out of his peripheral vision, and he looked down and he goes, oh, hi, how can I help you? Like that. And I said, Frank, you're going to be the keynote speaker at my event. I didn't say who I was or anything. And he looked at the other guys and he goes, excuse me, gentlemen, I'll be right back. I'm going to go talk to this young lady. And he took me outside, and we talked for like 30 minutes, and we just had a great conversation. He asked me a bunch of questions. I asked him a bunch of questions. And at the end of the conversation, we shook hands, and he was going to be speaking at my event. So, there's the thing is that there are so many fears that we have that stop us from doing what we want to do. But here's a thing I realized too, is when our faith is strong, our fears are weakened. So I came up with a different acronym: not face everything and run into it, not face everything and run, or false evidence appearing real, but faith erases anxious reactions. Because when our faith is strong, our fear is weakened. So when I start to feel fearful, I check in with myself. Linda, how strong is your faith? Why are you scared? And it helps me to say, oh, just do it. Do it because you're scared.
So my question too, I mean, this one I've never asked you, and I'm dying to know is, you said that you would pick a fear. Now, I'm assuming though that when you went to Secret Knock, that probably was your fear for the day, but then you saw Frank and you're like, I need to get a picture. So is that, did you ever double down or?
Well, boy, I got to tell you, it's Secret Knock. I way more than doubled down. I like quadrupled, quintupled down, because there were so many different opportunities. And when we went on breaks, like, because it was this big event, we started at like 8 a.m. and went till 8 p.m, 3 days in a row. And during the breaks, I literally would just like take my phone and I would walk out to the hallway, and I would just stand there and not talk to anybody, because I just, I have this fear of talking to people. I still have it. I just have it under control now, so I still have it under control now. And so I was just standing there in a corner, and then next thing you know, here comes my life coach, and she's just like very gregarious and going out there, and she brings some, hey, Linda, I met this person here. You should talk to them. And I was like, okay, so she actually helped me to get out of my shell with being in environments. I'd never been in an environment like that before, And so, yeah, I definitely doubled down, way more than doubled down at Secret Knock. And since then, at many events, I do more than double down. But my fear that third day was to talk to Frank Shankwitz and invite him to be the speaker at my event. That was it.
I'm guessing though that your speech wasn't, you're going to be the keynote speaker.
That was it.
That was it. That's all you had to say. Oh my goodness. That is courageous.
And that goes to show that it doesn't take a lot to get what we want. Oftentimes we blow it out of proportion, into this huge thing. And one thing I've learned, from my Greg Reed, who is the creator of the Secret Knock event, he ended up becoming my mentor. And one thing I've learned from him is the fewer the words, the better, especially with people who are fast moving or influencers, because they get asked, oh my God, I had lunch with Jack Canfield one day. It was like a 2-hour lunch. And when we were walking to lunch, because we were at Universal Studios, when we were walking to lunch, every single person wanted a piece of him, every single person. So I'm imagining like, wow, to be confronted like that all day, every day, you're out in public. And so when I sat down with him for lunch, I said, I just want you to know I'm not here to take anything from you. I just want to be in your presence.
I
And
love
he
that.
was so thankful for that. And I didn't want anything from him. But what was funny is later that night, we were on the red carpet and I was interviewing stars on the red carpet. And here comes Jack Canfield walking down the red carpet. And he goes, "Hey, there's my lunch buddy, Linda." And he said it really loud, which was kind of cool. And then so I interviewed him. And at the end of the interview, I said, Jack, remember how at lunch I said, like, wasn't here to take anything from you. I said, that was lunch. This is now. I said, I'm looking for a testimonial, so will you give me a testimonial? And then he did. He gave me a testimonial right there. So I have, a testimonial from Jack Canfield. It's like a character testimonial, but, it was just something so simple, just being real. And that's going back again to that authenticity piece. Like, when we're ourselves, and I'm a curious person and I will ask a lot of questions, and I'm not scared to ask questions anymore. I was scared for decades because I thought people would judge me.
Yeah, no, I think that's fabulous. And you know what? It's funny too, is people usually say yes anyway. Cause like for me, I had the opportunity to ask Sharon Lecter for a testimonial and Blaine Bartlett for that matter. And I was terrified. And they're like, sure, no problem.
Yeah. What's the worst thing that can happen? They could say, no, leave me alone.
Yeah, and they're not
Never
going to
talk
be
to me
rude
again.
like that. Yeah, exactly. We do have to go to commercial break, so we'll be right back, okay? Oh, so for everybody who's joining us live, welcome. So glad you're here. And Linda Sunshine West, yay. You know what? I'm just glad that I have this show so that I have another opportunity to talk to her. She's so much fun. But anyway, we do have to go to commercial, as I mentioned. So here we go. Hey everyone. So, as the commercials were playing, I was thinking to myself how I love to say something about how positive people are, the guests. And I've literally said how sometimes people are like sunshine in a body. And I was just thinking how funny I literally have somebody, Linda Sunshine West. Anyway, let's bring her back on. Hey, Linda.
Hello, hello, hello. Sunshine in a body. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, now I can't say that about anybody else. It belongs to you officially. So,
Thank you. It's awesome.
but yeah, no, but I'm just, fear is such a prominent thing. Fear of money, lack of money, success, failure. I mean, just you name it, and the biological impact it has on your body is ridiculous. Like, the heart disease it causes, cancers, you name it. So I'm just curious though, because you were facing your fears, you still had all that adrenaline. I mean, how was your sleep Did you sleep well at night, or you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, that's funny you asked that because when I first, because you mentioned positive people, during that commercial break there,
Mhm,
and when I first got introduced to this type of world, with the
mhm,
positive motivational people, literally, I went to an event. It was not Secret Knock; it was a different event, but I went to this event, and for 3 days, you're just being pumped with this positivity and this information. And I literally, my body was buzzing for 2 full weeks. And I didn't know what it was, but I mentioned it to somebody and they're like, that's energy. It's like pent up energy that's been trapped for so long. And now it's being released. And I was able to sleep, but it's still, I could feel this. I would call it like my electrodes were just like firing like crazy inside of my body and just opening up. And it just like was so weird, and I haven't experienced it since then, maybe because I don't need to anymore, because, I hear about like vibrations and vibrating at a
mhm.
higher level and stuff. So I think I'm just vibrating at a higher level now that it's leveled out. I leveled up to that
Yeah.
level of vibration. And that was just something new for me.
Yeah, now it's your new normal instead of, jumping up there. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
fabulous idea. So I happen to know that you're an extremely creative person and you have some amazing ideas. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Surprise, surprise. But how do you, because I know that for me, in order for me to be creative, there's certain things that I need to keep doing in my own life. Otherwise, I kind of start fizzling out. It's like the creativity muscle for me. It's like making my bed. Is there certain things I have to do? Do you have your own thing that you do, or how does that work for you?
I don't, but it's interesting because when you said that, I'm a very creative person, I said moi. I mean, I really meant that because I, grew up always thinking that I wasn't creative,
Mhm,
and that was because of that judgment piece, right? I would compare myself to my family, who, we have artists, we have musicians. Like I'm a musician, but I was never as good as my sister, right?
mhm,
Or I would draw things, but I would never draw as good as my mom, and so I was always comparing myself to them, and so I never saw myself as a creative person, not realizing creativity comes in more than just music and art, right? It comes in so many
mhm,
different ways. So that it's been something that for me, I've learned along the way that I am creative. It's just not in the traditional ways that I see as traditional ways. So it's interesting because I just get, if I see a post or something, it's kind of like some kind of creativity just pops into my head. What comes
mhm,
to me first, which I find interesting, I didn't know this didn't happen for everybody, but titles. So titles will come to me and then I'll write around the title or I'll do a
mhm,
video around the title. So as an example, I woke up one day and I had this title of a book that was, given to me when I woke up, and it was
mhm.
called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And
Ooh, yeah.
yeah, every time I say that title, I get that same exact reaction. And, I believe God gave me that title for a reason because I lived those first 51 years of my life feeling invisible. Now, I wasn't invisible. And I did have a lot of great qualities. I was smart. I didn't believe it. I didn't know
Mhm,
it. I was brave. I didn't believe it. I didn't know it. I was a leader. I didn't believe it. I didn't know it. So I felt invisible.
mhm,
And, so when I worked with my life coach and she helped me to discover the value that I had had all along, I just denied it, because of
mhm,
whatever my past. And I started feeling like, I can say anything and I feel confident. I feel invincible. So the invincibility isn't like, breaking through walls or anything like that. It's just about being able to speak your truth and not have any of that fear that's involved with it. So anyway, that title came to me and I get titles all the time. Another book called The Fearless Entrepreneurs is another book I'm working on. I'm working on those two collaboration books right now. But one night, okay, so you mentioned, you asked the question, right? So one night I was, this was only about 6 months ago. I was laying in bed and I was trying to go to sleep and I just couldn't. My mind was just going crazy. And so finally I had to just get up out of bed. And I
mhm,
got out of bed, came out to the living room, turned on the light, and I broke out of I have this like big notepad I like to use that I put ideas on it.
mhm,
And I just started writing. And what came out was so after these 2 books are done is the Women Action Takers series of books. And those will be like the first one. I already have the title of it. Like there's nothing that's been done on it, just a title. And the title is Women Action Takers with Healing Hands.
Ooh.
And I get that reaction. See,
Yeah.
so I'm tapping into, I believe God is sending me these titles, and I can do something with them or not. It's my choice. But he sends me the titles and I write them down and I remember them. Then eventually I get to doing something with them. So that's kind of how it's always been for me. It's like anytime I've written anything, the Year of Fears, there was actually Greg, my mentor, he's the one, he said, you should write a book and you should call it the Year of Fears, And that's not his voice, by the way. That's just that's how I say his voice. But, it's like the titles come and then the artistry comes after. So it's kind of interesting. A lot of authors, they write first and they get stuck on the title. I come up with a title and everything follows.
I love that. And I love that you say that it like comes to you, because any sort of creative person tends to say that. I've noticed, it's like they don't really necessarily take full credit for it.
Well, when you're
when
you're asleep and you wake up and there it is, it's like, it came to me. Like, it's kind of interesting. Well, the Bee Gees, there was, a band called the Bee Gees, really big in the 70s, disco band. Barry Gibb wrote most of the music. Well, they asked him, how did you come up with all these amazing, because they wrote so many hits. How did you come up with all these hits? He said, music is just floating through the airwaves and I just pull one down. So it's kind of interesting that, because they say, we're all just energy, and our thoughts, this is what I hear, right? Our thoughts just go out, they're all out there, and then we pick them down. So might be something like you've thought of something or thought of inventing something. My husband and I, we had this great idea. We were out camping and we were having a problem with the hibachi that we brought and stuff. And we came up with this idea to invent a portable hibachi that you could just throw away when you're done. So, I don't know, 6 months later, we're in the grocery store and guess what? There's a portable hibachi that you can throw away when you're done. It hadn't been out there before. We had the idea. Someone else had the idea, but they created it. We didn't take action on it. So anyway, it's so interesting.
Something I was thinking about when you were talking about feeling invisible is I wonder if part of the reason, because I felt like that myself, and I'm wondering if part of that is because like this is before we sort of owned who we are and our strengths. And maybe that's why we felt invisible, because we couldn't even like see it ourselves. And I wonder if that has something to do with it.
I believe it does. So one of the co-authors in the book is Forbes Riley. And it was interesting because I sent her a message one day. I said, this is all I asked her. Have you ever felt invisible? That's all I asked her in a text, right? And she responds back, hell yeah, like this. And then I picked up the phone. I called her right then because I want to talk to her about this. And I told her, I'm writing this book called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. Will you tell your story in it? And so she agreed. And so she's going to be in the book. But as I was interviewing her because we have a ghostwriter who's writing her chapter, as I was interviewing her for it, she explained this situation where she was speaking at an event where there were like 10,000 people.
Wow.
And she said, have you ever think about feeling invisible in front of 10,000 people? So no matter who we are, we can have instances. Maybe she doesn't feel invisible all the time anymore, but she's had many times in her life where she felt invisible. She didn't, she felt like an ugly duckling. And, so there's so many things that make us move into that, like our own mindset moves there. It's just our mindset that was moved into that place. And everybody's situation is different. Mine was, my dad was a very abusive alcoholic, and then my family, like one of my sisters, very judgmental. And I picked up all that stuff. And then I married someone just like my dad, like a lot of people do, my first husband. So I believed all these negative things about myself from my childhood all the way until, I met my husband, my current husband, who's amazing again. But it wasn't until the life coach, age 51, that I started to actually believe that I have this value.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. It's something that I was just thinking about too is it's so hard for me to say that I'm an artist. And I went to art school in Italy. I've been in art shows. I've
Oh,
sold my art, and yet I don't want to say that I'm an artist for some reason. It's so
yeah.
weird.
What is that? Is there, so for you to like maybe look back and see, was there somebody that was made fun of because they were an artist? Were you made fun of because you were doing art instead of, studying, science or something? Like,
Yeah.
was there something there? And the reality is that you are an artist, and just owning up to it is like one of the steps that you would take. It's not like gonna like rock your whole world, but it can. But if you
Yeah.
don't believe you're an artist, I mean, you've already sold paintings, so you're a professional artist. Like, you get paid, for your artwork. So I don't. It's just stepping into it and having the belief that others believe in you. So another thing I learned during that year of fears is to
Mhm.
see myself or see yourself through the eyes of others. For others see the real you. So anytime somebody would say something nice about me, I learned to
Mhm.
just say thank you. That was like the first step, like
Yeah.
just say thank you, nothing else. So they would say something nice about me and I would say thank you. And then I would go home or I would sit in my car, whatever, and I would say to myself, they just called me this. I need to look at this closer and see how I can believe this. And then I would just start to examine, because that's how I make my breakthroughs. Is I do need to examine. Like, a lot of people say, you don't have to examine. Well, no, I do. Okay. I know who I am. And I know that I need to piece it all together, like to like take the puzzle pieces apart and put them
Mhm.
back together. And that right there helped me to grow tremendously and quickly by seeing myself through the eyes of others. They think I'm amazing, then I need to see how amazing I really am.
I love that, using them as a mirror.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
love that.
believing them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny too. I think I told you this before, but my boyfriend, he's a personal trainer, as am I, but he's a personal trainer full time, and he has a lot of female clients, and he'll always, he'll give compliments, and if they have to say thank you, and if they don't, and he hears them not accepting a compliment, then they have to do 20 push-ups every time. He's like, you need to learn how to say thank you when somebody gives you a compliment. And that's actually something that I learned when I was really little, was to say thank you, because it's as much for the person giving it as the person receiving it. But the believing it part sometimes a little
Yeah.
difficult still. But I love that, you're able to see yourself differently now because you're, learning to do that.
Yeah, and at the beginning it was uncomfortable and it felt weird, but a lot of us as kids, we're told, um, don't say these things because it's conceited, and the reality is that if you're good at something, why shouldn't you just say I'm good at it? What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with us believing in ourselves? There's nothing wrong with us believing in ourselves. It's actually a good thing. We can go so much further if we believed in ourselves. If I had spent the first 51 of my years of my life believing in myself, I'd be doing a lot of different things right now than I'm doing now. Now, I don't have any regrets of it,
Mhm.
because that doesn't do me, it doesn't serve me to regret
Yeah.
what did or didn't happen. But I would have had a different life, you know?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So, I wanted to talk about masterminds, and this is something that a lot of people are not familiar with, and I would love for you to talk about what you're up to.
Oh yeah, I love mastermind. So a mastermind is a collective of two or more minds that come
Mhm.
together, and there's been masterminding since the very beginning of time, because it's just two or more people coming together to that have a common goal in mind, and then helping each other to get to that, reach that goal. So I actually have on my website, be seen, be heard, be paid.com is my mastermind. And I have on there, it says, something like, men, masterminds were started with men, but now women are, come into the forefront, basically. And there's a picture there of like one of the original masterminds, which is not really the original, but it's at the time that the word mastermind was coined. Napoleon Hill, he wrote Think and Grow Rich and a lot of other books, but Napoleon Hill is the one who coined that phrase, mastermind. And I love masterminding. I did it for 4.5 years, a program I had, and I realized that the structure was off a little bit. So I restructured it, bringing it back. And what I'm super excited about, and it's kind of crazy what I'm doing, but I do crazy things. And this, again, I got to do me. I got to do me, right? And so, I mean, all of my coaches and mentors are like, don't do it. But, I listen to them, but I also need to be me. And so what I'm doing here is I'm offering scholarships to women who want to be in this mastermind. So what does that mean? It means they don't pay to be in the mastermind. How do I make money though? I make money because I only make money if I help them make money. And the reason I'm doing this, again, another why, right? What's my why for doing this? Because some people will be like, you got to value yourself. If you don't charge, you're not valuing. I say BS on that. That is, I know my value. I know my value so much, and I believe in my value so much that I'm willing to bank it on you.
I love that.
Yeah. But the reason I'm doing this is because I've gotten off of, I've probably been on a good 100, 150 sales calls in the last couple of years, right? Where they're like, you're so amazing. You're going to make it. You're incredible. You're going to be a millionaire. Now it's only going to cost you $10,000 to join my program. So I'm like, if I'm that amazing, would they be willing to back me and say, join my program, and then we'll take a percentage of what you make because we're the ones who helped you get there. And I get off every single phone call, and I was like that. And so I started thinking, why am I not doing the thing that I'm saying? So that's why I'm doing it.
No, I love that. And, it's funny that you would say that because I actually had a coach a while back, and he was on the show not that long ago, but when he was teaching me how to be a coach and, when he's like, you could do it any way you want. There's some coaches that don't charge until you get the result that you want. And I was like, that's a fabulous idea, but I don't know if I could go without money, but I love that though, because you really, you're going for the right reason. And something else that people don't seem to think about when they're like, you need to value. How do you put a price on something that's priceless?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and I don't value myself based on money.
Exactly.
My value is as a human being. And, I show up every day, and, I'm here, and people see me all the time. Like, I'm here, right? And I'm here for you. And that's my value. When I get to the end of my life, I want to be able to look back and say, you know what? I was a pretty damn good person. I did some really good things for some great people, and I helped change so many people's lives. My mission is to positively impact 5 million women's lives. I can't do that myself. It takes a ripple effect. It takes the people under me. So how I run the program is that, people apply for the scholarship, and if they get accepted, then they join the mastermind. When they make money, I make money. I make a percentage, 20%. It's not even exorbitant, because a lot of people would charge 40 or 50%. But the thing is that I have this mission to help you make $100,000 in a year. So now if I help you make 100,000, I make $20,000. If I help you make 500,000, I only make 20,000 because I cap it at 20,000. Because I'm not here to take your money. I'm here to help you make money and help you make a difference on the planet.
I love that. So I'm going to pop that up again so that people can take a look and check it out.
Be seen, be heard, be paid. The whole focus of the mastermind. So here's one thing I feel like I did wrong in my last mastermind. I did well, by the way. I helped a lot of women, with their businesses, but I didn't focus on one thing. And so what I did is I stopped that mastermind about 8 months ago, and I regrouped, and I said, what are the things that I'm best at? Getting people in front of audiences and helping them with their money mindset, so that when it comes time to put together a program, like we put together their programs with them, if they want to do a group program, or if they want to do have an online course they want to sell, right? I can help them to do all those things, and then help them with the money mindset when it comes to actually asking for the price. So, that's what I'm best at. So I said, I'm just going to do that.
I love it. Staying in your zone of genius.
Yeah. I was jumping out of my zone of genius based on desperation. A lot of times people will do that. We'll step out of our zone of genius because of desperation. And I said, you know what, no more desperation. Just go in there and do what you do.
Oh, no, that's so well said because, and then people could smell that too. And then all of a sudden you're not,
Yeah.
nobody wants to work with you. They're like, you're desperate for money. Even if you're not trying to necessarily get it from them, it's like they can smell it.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
not a good
love
smell
that.
either.
No, it's not. It's pretty stinky.
Like dirty socks.
So we are almost out of time. And I would love for you to share any last like thoughts, words of wisdom, or even a story. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay. Okay, cool. Well, I've created this, my what do you call it? My brand is Women Action Takers.
Yes, it
And
is.
what I want to share about that is that, people are like, oh, I'm hoping for this. I
Mhm.
wish this would happen. I'm going to manifest this. I'm going to pray for it to happen. But we can do those things all we want, but it can be staring you in the face. And if you don't take action, it's not going to happen. So, there's just so many opportunities. Opportunities are all over the place, but it's what
Mhm.
are we doing about it? So I love to talk about action because it's really that action, it's like Greg Reed, he talks about it's the action and the law of attraction that gives us what we want. We have to
Exactly.
take those steps to make it happen. So think about what is something you want out of your life. Then think, what's a step that I need to take to get there? Just think of
Mhm.
one. You don't have to think of all of them. You don't have, like, you have a 5-year goal or whatever, they talk about tracing it back. Yeah, that's awesome and everything. But you know what? Between today and 5 years from today,
Mhm.
your path is going to change because you're going to learn something different. You're going to meet different people. You're going to grow, and your growth is going to make your path change just a little bit. So, like you think about a train. So a
Mhm.
train is going down a track, and it's going from, I'm in California, so I'm in San Diego. So it's going from San Diego up to New York, and it's going to go around and up. And then something happens. And when it gets to one of those locations where there's a switch is what makes the train go on a different path. The
Yep.
switch doesn't change. So next thing you know, you're heading to Florida.
Exactly. You got to readdress where you are. No, I think
Yeah.
that's fabulous because if you knew how to, I mean, like if you think about Bob Proctor, and he's always talking about if you know how to get to your goal, then you're not thinking big enough. So you can't necessarily plan it out because you don't know where you're going to. I mean, I'm not saying, like you said, I just love the idea of take a step, pick something, move. That's the thing
Yeah.
that's totally missing. Yeah, is the action part. I love
Yeah. You
that.
have to take that action. And you're having a general idea of the
Mhm.
plan, I think is great. Like
Yes.
I have goals, and I have like a vision of where I want to be. I don't go out beyond a year though, because my life changes drastically within,
Mhm.
the next 3 months. Things are going to be so different for me next 3 months that I might actually reach my 1 year goal by 3 months because of the way things happen. So,
Yeah.
so what I do is I have this vision of where I'm going. So this is where the visionary part comes in, right? I have this vision of the result that I want to get, but I don't really worry too much about this middle part. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, here's a step I need to take, to get me there. When I say that, I don't have a written out plan, but I know the
Mhm.
things I need to do.
Yeah,
And then I
exactly.
do them. I just do them. It's like, just do them.
I know. I think a lot of people, especially when they watch The Secret, just thought they could sit in their lazy boy and, dream something into their driveway or whatever.
I think that's what I thought when I first saw it. I was like, you mean I can just lay in bed and things will come to me? I
I
really
know. Oh man, I love that though, because people really, I mean, it does. It takes action. You literally have to do something for it, not
yeah,
just sit there. And
yeah.
I mean, opportunities do come, but you've got to take those opportunities.
And I like to say, see the opportunity, then seize the opportunity, because
Ooh, I like
because
that.
they're there, and oftentimes we see them but we don't take them. So a really, really quick story. I was interviewing again, I was on the red carpet and I was interviewing stars, and that night Wesley Snipes was on the red carpet. For those who don't know, he's an American actor. And
Mhm.
I was like, we're going to interview Wesley Snipes. So I saw him about 3 people away from me, and I was just like, I had my eyes on him. I'm going to interview him, right? And then he finished with that interview and he walked right on past me and went to about 3 people after me. And I was like, oh, no, you don't, And So there was an opportunity that slipped right by me, right? So
Mhm.
as I'm standing there, I was listening to every single word that was being said. I was looking at every single body language that was happening between Wesley and the guy who was interviewing him.
Mhm.
And that split second, it was like literally a split second when he started to turn and walk the other way, I touched his elbow and I just brought him back over and I said, Mr. Snipes, it's my turn. And he came over. So there was
Love
an
that.
opportunity that I could have let slip by because
Mhm.
like, oh, he passed me up, but
Yep.
I didn't let that happen. And I saw that opportunity again and I grabbed it. And that's happened time and time again. Oftentimes, like people think that you don't really work for it, but you know what?
Mhm.
Sometimes we just got to work our ass off it for it and make it happen.
Love it. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to pop this up one more time because I think it's important for people to have the opportunity to take a look. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today, Miss
you.
Linda Sunshine West. You're the best. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you
everybody.
soon. Oh, don't you just love her? She's amazing. Definitely check it out. Oh, there we go. There, now I got it. We'll be back on Thursday with Greg Drolet from the Inspired Life Academy. Thanks again, everyone.